again, it's Sue Resnick, and this is unprecedented. I've been doing a recipe a day for the last couple days, and now this is a delicious salad that I actually haven't had. I'd forgotten about it, and I'm pulling it out of the mothballs to make again because it is tasty. This is a watermelon and kale salad. It's an unusual sounding combination, but it really is delicious. So let's get started. What I'm starting with is actually some Russian red leaf kale. You can use the curly or you can use the lucinato. Sometimes they call it dinosaur kale. Any one of those kales is fine. This one just happened to look really good at the farmer's market this weekend, so that's what I bought. And in order to prepare it for the salad, I wash and rinse it good, wash it, and then this is what it looks like. It's a smaller leaf. It's not the curly. And it's got that big stem. What I want to remove is that big stem because these stems can be a little bit bitter. So I just lay it out flat and I just run my knife down either side of the stem. There, and that's all I do. I just cut that out, toss that, and then I had already done that with my big handful. You can see this is, if I really crush it, it's just one good sized handful of kale. So I don't know if we're going to measure that, but you can see it was at least 10 leaves, but they're not humongous. And I'm just going to chop this up pretty fine. Makes it a lot easier for the chewing down the road too. And I better watch my fingers. I'm cutting it about between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. I like it small. I don't want to have to chew on big pieces of kale. Kale is such a firm vegetable, and I like having little pieces. It just makes it easier to eat. I went through it one way. I'm going through it the other way. I'm going to give it a small dice, and it doesn't take long. Probably what took the longest was taking the stems out, but even that's not bad. This flat leaf kale is a little easier to trim up than, say, a curly leaf kale. That's a little more work. But you use what you can find. There, that looks pretty good. See, it's nice and, oh, you can't see that, can you? I'll pull it back a little bit. It's just nice little pieces, nice and fluffy. All right, there's my kale, and I have the dressing already made. I made my dressing using honey and balsamic vinegar. I used 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar and 1 tablespoon of honey. And I actually put it in a saucepan anticipating I'd have to warm it up a little bit to get the honey to dissolve into the balsamic vinegar. But actually, I put them in the pan, and then I had to leave the house to run some errands, and I came back and it was all dissolved into it. So in that time, the vinegar broke it down. So I didn't have to heat it up at all. So I'm going to just pour this over my kale. There we go. And I'm going to stir it in a little bit and let it get coated. In fact, some people even do what's called massaging. And in order, it helps break down the fibers a little bit of the kale, and it helps get the dressing into it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you how to massage kale. You just squeeze it. Give it a good squeeze. And kind of let your fingers, they're all green, let your fingers run against each other. Like that. Almost like you're trying to snap your finger, only you're doing it with all of them. And give it a good squeeze and a crush. Squeeze and a crush. And that helps work that dressing into the kale and help break it down a little bit. It puts a little more flavor into it too. I think you'll like it. Alright, that's good. Just a few good squishes, and then we'll let it sit a little bit while I get my onion cut up. I like to use a red onion or a shallot because they're a little bit milder in a salad, but you can use a yellow or white onion if you want. And there's always that trick of putting it in the refrigerator so it's milder. This one happened to be in the refrigerator because I peeled it earlier today. Like I said, I thought I was going to do this demo earlier today, and then I put it in the refrigerator when I went to leave. So it's going to be extra mild, which is fine. And I'm just doing a small dice. about a 1/4 inch dice on this. Well, you know what else is pretty is doing slices. So if you want to put in some sliced onion, that's pretty too, just because of the variety of the shapes and the textures. I would make it thin slices. If you were going to do slices, I'd make them thin. Now here's an interesting little thing that I bet you didn't know. That you can actually affect the flavor of your onion depending on how you cut it. Now, it doesn't make any sense, but it works. And if you cut your onion, okay, the opposite, like the length of the onion from root to tip, it's going to taste a little hotter than if you cut it horizontally the other way. You know, if you were going to make onion rings are sweet, aren't they? And look, it's the ring around. Whereas if you cut it the other way, they'll actually be a little bit hotter. I don't understand why that is, but it just seems to be so. And I've played with that and tested it, and it does. It comes out sweeter if you cut it that way. If I'm doing it diced, I don't know. I guess you get the best of both worlds, right? I used to make baked beans years ago, where I sweetened them with only onion rings, and I would cut the onion into rings and put that throughout the beans and then bake them, and it was a delicious, lightly sweetened baked bean using just the onion cut in rings for the sweetener. That was when I was using like a plain bean. In fact, it was the big lima beans that I used to soak and then from dry and do it. Okay, I've got my onion in there. I've got my saturated kale, soaked kale, and now I'm going to add some chopped watermelon. I already had this cut up, and I didn't know how much I'd need, so I'm just going to add it until it looks good. And I didn't know how much dressing I needed either. That was a guess. I just know the proportion works well of 2 parts balsamic to 1 part honey. Okay, let's see how that works. Because your kale kind of shrinks down. Now, if you're following, oh, you know what I forgot to do? Nuts. I wanted to put some ginger in there. Well, if you're following the Gerson therapy, you're done. This is your salad. Because you can have all those things. You can have the honey and the balsamic, the watermelon, the onion, and the kale. If you're just looking to eat healthy, you can add some ginger to this, in which you could either add powdered ginger or grated ginger. And I have a little bit of fresh ginger root, and I was going to show you how I fix it. I actually peeled the skin off, so I'll hold it out so you can see. It normally has that kind of rough-looking skin on it. I trimmed that off, so I just have the bare root. And then I grate it on a really fine grater. This kind of grater is called a microplane. And it's really handy for doing something that you just want a little shreds of it. So I'm going to add a little bit of ginger to this, just to kick it up a little bit. And then I will season it with a little pepper. And then if you wanted, you could add pumpkin seeds if you're eating seeds. I'm not eating seeds or nuts right now. And I stay low fat. Even after Gerson, I still stay low fat. So I'm not going to add seeds or nuts. But if I was, when I serve it for my husband and myself, I will put some pumpkin seeds on his because he would like that. Okay, and I don't think I want too much. It can be a little zippy. But I wish I'd put that in back when I put the dressing on the kale and massaged it in. That would have been really good. But it's the way it goes, you know? Now, you know, if you make a mistake, you can make it work too. So I thought it was a real compliment that I got from somebody once. They said, boy, if you can do it, I can do it. It's like, well, good. I hope I make it seem very doable, because that's my goal. I want you to realize that you can do this, and it's not the end of the world if something's a little different. You know, that's the way Julia Childs was. She made lots of mistakes and just made it work. All right. And that's our salad. Wasn't that easy? And it really is tasty. It has a nice fresh flavor. And anytime you're getting more greens into your diet, it's a good thing. Greens are so high in antioxidants, and they have so many healing properties. Your raw greens are so good for you. And watermelon is high in vitamin A and lycopene, which is good for you too. So I'm going to try a little bite. I'm going to get a little bite of everything. Can I get everything? I will try. I'm going to have to pick. Excuse my fingers. Mmm. Oh, that's tasty. It's nice. You can taste a little bit of everything. You have the onion and the dressing. And I don't think I got any ginger in this bite, but it's nice. The kale's very mild, so you don't mind it in there. So there you go. I hope you enjoy that salad, and let me know if you try it. Okay? All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.